Welcome to episode 86 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew. And for the first time in nearly a decade, there's going to be some German flavor on the campus of UConn. As big man, we looked up this pronunciation. We heard him say it himself in a video. Eric Reibe. It's not Reibe, whatever we're going with Reibe because that's what we heard him say. He committed to UConn, 7-footer, class of 2025, top 30 prospect, the second player to commit this month after Darius Adams did earlier. It's big news because we're losing Samson Johnson after this year at center. Reibe, 7 foot tall. He can shoot the ball, something we've never really had from a center, at least that I remember in the past few years. We've had Klingon, who he could hit one. Sonogo, he came along towards the end, but we haven't really had a center that can legitimately hit that three ball like Reibe can. And we beat out Creighton for him, which Creighton, we know that rivalry. They have Kalkbrenner. This could have been their next big man up, but yeah, I'm just really excited about this guy. You guys get any initial reactions to this?
Yeah, Southpaw coming over to Storrs is very exciting. It's great to see Ryba finally make his decision, decide to come to Storrs, come to a program which has been nothing but on the way up recently. And I'm excited just to see how he comes in and he just works with Hurley and where his game goes. Hopefully he plays a lot next year.
Yeah, I'm excited for this kid. He looks like he's like can shoot that three ball efficiently. Obviously 7 footer, like Connor said, we're missing Samson, but I just think it's funny that we beat out Indiana, who we got McNeely from, and there's another recruit that has Indiana in his top three, and we may be making a video about that soon. But Indiana and Creighton, I feel like was a weird mix, and I didn't really see us getting him at the beginning, but now I'm very happy because he's going to be a great piece for us next year.
And it just goes to show that Hurley's recruitment has been as strong as it is because he focuses in on guys that he really wants. I feel like whenever he is particular about a certain player or a certain thing that he wants on his team, he's not going to let any other team get it, especially competitive in conference teams. So I'm just glad to see, the continuation of the Hurley method.
Yeah, back to Andrew's point there about Indiana. We all remember the infamous Jeff Goodman quote where he said that Indiana's starting five has more talent than UConn when we faced off in that Empire Classic game. And since then, the two programs, Indiana is not bad. They're going to be decent this year, but pretty much gone in opposite directions. We pretty much took McNeely from them. McNeely decommitted from Indiana, and Mike Woodson came here. We beat out them for Ryba. Braylon Mullins is who Andrew's referring to. There's rumblings that we could get another Indiana target next week, but it's just funny to see that after that quote, kind of like the downfall, mostly the downfall of Jeff Goodman. I mean, it's not really anything harsh towards Indiana, but I mentioned the German. We haven't had him in almost a decade. I'm sure everyone remembers Niels Giffey. He's the most notable. We've had a few other German players as well on Giffey's team, but it's nice to go back to the international side of things.
And it's nice to have European blood back on the team. Obviously, the way the NBA is going today, I feel like he sort of sees that with players like Nikola Jokic, for example. That's the only one I'm really going to name. Sengun, too. Let's go Sengun and Jokic. Two big men. Reeb, I feel like looking to follow their sort of, footprint and to get into, this all-star caliber player. And I feel like him looking at UConn and, this being the first European born player that we've had in a long time. I feel like that definitely means that we're going in the right direction, not just, internally in the United States, but also abroad.
Yeah, and a pattern that I'm kind of noticing here, obviously Connor already talked about this, but Samson Johnson's departing, and we just landed Ryba. It's the same position. Hassan Diarra is also departing, and we got Darius Adams. And one of maybe both of Caravan and McNeely are leaving as well next year. So I kind of see a pattern here with Hurley just recruiting. It feels harsh to say this, but when you win as much as we do, they're replacements. If you want to stay good, you have to replace your guys eventually. But this is the pattern I'm noticing. We're not just recruiting one of the same position because they're all good. We're recruiting replacements, and that's how you stay good.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to Matt's point. We haven't had Europeans that have contributed. Obviously, we're not good dissing our guy Apostolos, who's here, won two titles. He's from Greece. Yaron Asu in the year before that. Just you guys know what we mean when we say Europeans. But yeah, I agree. I mean, losing Samson, Terrace Reed has one more year after this. Yusuf Singare is still going to be here. There's a lot. There's a big opportunity for Eric Reibe to play minutes right away. I don't think it'll be in the starting lineup. I'd be surprised if he cracks it. Maybe he can. We're a long ways away here thinking about that. That's this time next year's problem. But I just think adding what you need, like you said, Andrew, is important because it's the reality that obviously Sampson and DR are gone, but you could almost assume that Caravan and McNeely are going to go to the NBA draft. That's not a problem UConn teams had like 5 years ago. You get guys like, no offense to Whaley, Polly, those guys aren't going to the draft after their junior, sophomore years. You have them for the whole time. But nowadays, with how good the program has become, you could lose guys at any time.
And especially at the center position, there's a reoccurring theme there too. And we're going to go way back to our good friend Josh Carlton, who Sonogo was behind him initially. And then Sonogo got the starting role, Klingon behind him. Then Klingon got it, and Reibe is going to be behind Taras, and then he'll get. So it's like a conveyor belt of centers that we've had since like 20 since ever. Honestly, we've had so many big men, but obviously Reibe not choosing Creighton. I don't really know if that says anything because Kalkbrenner's there obviously this year, but he has to be done after this year. There's no way he has another year. But I just think him choosing us over all those schools it says a lot about what this culture has become.
Yeah, and he comes from overseas. I was watching his commitment video. He said he hadn't come over to the US till he was 16. He's 18 now. That's like less than 2 years. So he was playing basketball in pretty good leagues overseas. All of them overseas are pretty good leagues because there's a bunch of pro players. He has a little bit of pro experience. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend for you guys. I didn't know he was European until I heard him talking, or I heard the pronunciation of his name on that live stream. I thought he was just a kid from the US, 7 footer, but I'm clearly wrong. He's from Germany. We add to that German flavor. But it's just, yeah, him having that experience overseas, which a lot of guys coming in don't have. Sure, he has less experience in the States in high school, but I'd say it's much more valuable experience to have that in Germany. They said he moved when he was 8 from Germany to Switzerland, where he started playing basketball. So he's well traveled. He's a guy that I feel like I keep on saying this. He's going to make an impact from day one. And going back to that conveyor belt analogy, you had since we've been good. We'll start there. We had Sonogo Klingon, bye Sonogo, hello Samson Klingon, goodbye Klingon, hello Terrace Reed, Samson Terrace Reed, goodbye Samson, hello Eric Reibe, Terrace Reed, Eric Reibe. Maybe it'll continue when Terrace is gone. We'll get another dude, and then it'll just keep going forever. But yeah, I like how Hurley has two centers that do pretty much different things because looking ahead to next year, Terrace Reed and Eric Reibe are two completely different players. Reibe is more of an offensive. He can knock down the three. He's 7 foot. I'm not too keen on how good his defense is. I assume he can protect the rim at least solidly enough. Terrace Reed's the bruiser, like back to the basket rebounder guy. It's just a perfect match. Once again, Hurley always seems to find those perfect matches. All right, moving on. You guys have anything else on our new friend Eric here?
Very exciting. I'm pretty sure 24/7's top center prospect. Just very excited to see him come in and work out.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. We shouldn't be done the month of October, like we were hinting to before. Braylon Mullins hopefully is up next, but a couple of points here, and then we'll wrap up. Shorter episode. Not we just had one recapping that URI game. Not much has happened since then, but we added a player to the roster. Suleiman Diaby, I believe is how you pronounce that. A walk on. There's not much to say. There's not much about him. Where do you go? Lewis and Clark Community College, I believe. Yeah, so he's gonna be out there. I mentioned at the end of our last show, we had Jalen Stewart out there up by 30 against Rhode Island. That's what Mr. Suleiman Diaby's here for. He's here just to make sure our guys don't get hurt. So happy to have him along. It's no Andrew Hurley, but maybe it'll be better.
Yeah, it's always good to have the walk-ons because when you go to a non-conference game and it's a 30-something point lead, we've had chance. We want Gary, Olander, Andrew Hurley, and now I wonder what these chances are going to be. Suleiman, maybe, I don't know, but I'm happy to have another guy on the roster, just another name to learn. And obviously, like Andre Johnson coming here being a walk-on, really like that. So I'm really happy to have this kid along for the ride.
And he's not a Connecticut kid either. Usually these types of walk-ons come right from Connecticut. Andrew Hurley, Matt Gary, just for example. But it's good to see that, Harley saw something in Diaby and brought him in and he's giving him a shot. So
Last segment here. NBA season starting up next week. Preseason is going on right now. There's a lot of Huskies around the league on these preseason rosters. Andrew, I know you're keeping track of them for us as our resident NBA guy here. What do you got for the Huskies? I know they've been really hot.
Yeah, in the last 2 nights, I posted this on my Twitter, I believe Monday. In the last 2 nights, Tyrese Martin, 9 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Sanogo, 16, 3 and 16 rebounds. Newton, 5, 5 and 3. Andre Jackson, 3, 0 and 3. Klingon, 10, 0 and 10. So his first double-double technically as an NBA player. And then at this time, Hawkins had 11, 0 and 3, but he had 20 as well last night. And obviously, we still have some guys playing overseas. So we got a real good representation of pro basketball from UConn right now. And speaking of, James Bouknight was just signed back to the G League. He's going to play for whoever Portland's team is. I'm not too sure what that is. He was technically waived today, but it wasn't an NBA contract. He's just going to go play in the G League. But it's really good to see all of our guys contributing for their respective NBA teams.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Bouknight back in the league, even if it's in the G League, because he didn't have an ideal career with the Hornets. It went downhill pretty quickly, but this is another opportunity. I know he's going to kill it. And a couple guys I want to touch on that Andrew mentioned. Adama Sanogo, he scored 16 and 16, whatever it was, against the Bucks. Sure, he and the Bulls, they didn't really have their A team out there, but the Bucks did. He did that against Brook Lopez. Giannis is out there. I didn't watch the game, but I'm sure he had at least a couple times where Giannis was guarding him. It's just Sonogo's good enough to play in the NBA, especially on a team like the Bulls, that they're not going to be a playoff team more likely than not. They're going to be maybe competing for a play-in spot. But I mean, Sonogo can be just as good as a guy like Nikola Vucevic at this stage in his career. I really hope Sonogo gets an opportunity. And also Hawkins. He's a guy who last year he started some games early in the season for a banged up Pelican squad and played pretty well. And then the Pelicans got healthy and they rewarded Hawkins for playing well by not playing him at all. So hopefully Tim kind of balling out in the preseason off the bench. He had 20 points, like you said last night. Hopefully that can maybe show the Pelicans that he deserves the minutes because he's easily a guy that could average double figures just off his shooting in the NBA.
yeah, these guys are just way too good to not be playing at least semi-decent minutes. Sonogo, when he got his chance last year, really showed out, multiple double-doubles. And he reminds me of, coming from the UConn tree, a little bit of an Andre Drummond, maybe a little bit of a smarter, more efficient Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond loves to, take his hook shots and do his crazy stuff. But I think Sonogo is way more level-headed, way more towards the basket. So it definitely reminds me of him. And Hawkins, on the other hand, is just an elite scorer. At the point last year when everybody came back for the Pelicans, he was leading rookies in 3-point field goals in that class. And I just think that, you play him a full season, he's one of the better shooters in the league. So you need to get this guy going for sure.
And the guy I want to touch on is Tristan Newton because there's people that go to teams and you're like, oh yeah, like they're gonna play. Like Castle, obviously gonna play with Portland, but then you got guys who are like, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna play. Tristan Newton, I think, will be on the Pacers NBA active roster by the time the season starts because I think that the Pacers are a team where they were in the Eastern Conference Final last year, but like Andrew Nembhard would go off for a ton of points when they didn't have like a lot of household name guys, obviously Halliburton, Miles Turner, but I think Tristan Newton could definitely make that NBA roster and impact that team. So that's really, really great for him. I'll be really happy if he makes it.
We want to talk about making NBA rosters on a team. Well, the Pacers, they're good. They made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. The Nets are not that good. They're not going to be that good. Tyrese Martin, I feel like, has a shot. I didn't think I'd be saying that maybe going into this preseason, but I'm looking at the box score from their last game. He played 16 minutes off the bench, scored 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, like Andrew said, plus 22 in those 16 minutes. And looking at the Nets, I'm not too familiar with their full roster, but I see Cam Thomas played, Ben Simmons, Schroeder. So all their big guys played, and Martin played off the bench and played pretty well. So I don't know. Maybe he'll crack that. That'd be awesome, especially because we just want more Huskies in the NBA. Sure, him being in the G League's dope, but having them on the NBA roster is almost even cooler. All right, you guys got anything else? I know it's supposed to be about Reibe, but there's just so many other topics to talk about. If not, I think that'll do it here for episode 86. Huskies got another big man, got another German for the first time since Niels Giffey. All is well in Danny Hurley land. Hopefully next week we'll be making a similar video at a similar time. How we got our new point guard of the future. But until then, thanks for watching.